Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do basically my edge retention test involving 1/4 inch rope and soda box cardboard. I'm going to be using this Case Sodbuster Jr, which is brand new out of the box with an extraordinarily bad factory edge on it, and Case Sodbuster Big that I've been using and carrying around a little bit that has my basically rockin' knives edge on it, which is just one resharpening up to a King 6000, which is pretty polished, but it's just how I've been carrying this knife around. This knife has cut a few things, a bunch of apples. I did do some whittling with it, a couple boxes, nothing too exciting. So it's basically been sharpened once with maybe 2 touch-ups involving a King 6000 and maybe some light stropping. Today, before doing this test, I did do a few edge trailing passes on a King 6000 just because it hadn't been touched up and I don't know what I'd last cut with it, and I stropped on this Bark River CBN compound 8 micron. Nothing special. It's a super polished edge for me. By my standards, this is a very polished edge. It's not coarse. It's not specifically designed for rope cutting or anything like that. This is just how I carry this knife for what it's worth. And this crappy factory edge. My goal here is just to show the difference between these knives. I don't really know what to expect, but these are super basic steels. Same steel, whatever Case is using for carbon steel, but these knives are obviously different. This knife's a lot wider, thicker stock, broader. So there's going to be some edge geometry. There's going to be some edge geometry differences for sure, because these knives are not totally comparable. But my goal here today is just to show you what this particular knife does with whatever edge I have on it. I don't know what to expect. I have no idea how many cuts it's going to get. And to do this particular factory edge, which is horrible. If you want more information about that, watch my Sodbuster Jr. initial impressions and check that out. If you haven't seen my tests, I'm going to cut cycles of 1/4 inch rope and cycles of soda box cardboard. So one cycle will involve equal number of cuts. So I may do 10 or 20 cuts on this, 10 or 20 cuts on that, and that will count as 10 or 20 cuts for that cycle. So the final number will be the number that it cut through rope and cardboard. If it cuts 100 times, that means it cut 100 times through rope and 100 times through cardboard. Let's do it. Sodbuster Big. I think we're getting close. Let's see. Yep, we'll call it there. And this is what it looks like on notebook paper. Ooh, he's doing it. He's doing notebook paper. Come on. Yeah, he's doing it enough. So he gets to do some 1/2 inch rope because he's still cutting notebook paper. So this is the difference between 1/4 inch rope and 1/2 inch rope. It is, the 1/4 inch rope isn't just twice as much, it's like 4 times as much. I don't know how math works, but it has to do with the diameter. Really equals way more actual area. So just part of my test that I did early on, I wondered if paper cuts differently. So I thought if I cut a different kind of paper, it would show me a difference between the really sharp edge and the working edge, and it turns out that most of the time when knives stop on this paper, they will stop on the notebook paper. But that's not always the case, so if they cut the notebook paper, I let them do 1/2 inch rope. So test continues on 1/2 inch rope. So I'll just do a cycle of 10. I'll just do it from here since you're already here. We'll try this and see how it goes. It'll probably shake the camera, so sorry, I'll try to be as still as I can, but this is gonna take some effort. This rope's kind of hard to cut. Oh, 10. That was 10. I got excited. I wanted to keep going. So we keep doing cardboard as well. I need my glove just because my hand pushes against the table and hurts my fingers. So. Clean, clean. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. It's stopping there, so we'll call it there. Okay, so I'm 2 cuts in. I want to do it from this angle because I want you guys to see this. I have cut over the course of my knife enjoyment, I've cut this 1/4 inch rope or one similar to it thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and I have a technique kind of dialed in for how I go about doing it. Generally, I can cut through this rope pretty good. You guys have seen me do it. I have it pretty dialed in. It's not usually too exhausting, even though it is difficult to cut this rope. So I'm 2 cuts in. I just want you guys to see this. This is Sodbuster Jr. with the crappy factory edge on it. Very rough, very extremely rough with this burr. It's taking me supreme effort to make these cuts. That sucks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can barely cut this rope. That is very, very difficult. See how the cardboard does. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Very just tearing the cardboard. So yeah, I probably can't even do this test with this knife. 1, 2. Not a cut. So here's the other problem. When I do this test, I'm selective about where I line this up, and I generally cut from here to here. And with the other knife, that's what I was doing. So I feel like I need to go back here and start the cut so that the thing can kind of start sawing its way and get a head start. But I don't want to do that because I don't want this part of the edge to do half the cut. I want the cuts to be dialed in this area like they're supposed to be. And this thing can't even do that. So what's that, 1 cut? 2, but it came off the edge. Got pushed to where I don't want it. 3, 4, 5, 6, because it did half of one and half of another one. This is kind of bull crap. It's the best I can do. It's so rough. 7, 8, 9, 10. By the way, that's a tear. I'm gonna count it. Although I probably shouldn't. I'm gonna count it. This doesn't happen. I don't have knives get so dull that they can't cut that cardboard. So we'll see what happens. No, we're gonna say he did 10 cuts, and that's being generous if we want to call these cuts. During editing, I realized I miscounted the cuts here. I got distracted during my speech and counted the second cut twice. So this cycle really did 11 cuts if you want to count the 10th cut as an actual cut. Anyway, just acknowledging my cut count was off there. I leave it up to you to decide how much that matters. Anyway, let's see if he can do 1/2 inch rope. Even the part of the edge I didn't use can't cut this paper. Tear, no, can't do it. So let's check out the results. So here's a comparison of the Sodbuster Big doing the 1/2 inch rope cutting at the end of its test and the Sodbuster Jr. doing the beginning part of its test side by side. So here are the results. The Sodbuster Jr. with the crappy factory edge only did the 10 cuts through rope and cardboard. Very difficult to make those cuts. The Sodbuster Big with the edge I put on it got 380 cuts plus 10 cuts through 1/2 inch rope for a total of 390 cuts through rope and cardboard. I also need to clarify something. In my Sodbuster Jr. initial impressions, I said that you could use that crappy edge to try to cut some stuff. You can't. It doesn't work. As shown, you can't cut crap with that. So there you go. I don't understand any reason why Case would be sending out a knife that's like this. So just some final thoughts on these results today. This thing was basically untestable. I mean, I probably shouldn't even have tested it, but it did kind of cut the paper to start, so I tested it, and this edge is horrible. I mean, there's just so much burr that, as you saw, this thing really couldn't even cut the rope. It was so much more difficult to cut the rope. I don't know what else to say about that. I have no idea how this guy was able to cut that much rope. He should not have done that. This is simple steel. I think it's just basic 1095, which edge retention on it is very low. This edge held up very well. There's really no like damage on this thing. This edge was very stable. So I don't know. I don't think it was just my sharpening job, but I'm gonna say I guess it could be, because it also could be the fact that this is a sharpened edge. This is a factory edge. Factory edges are toasted and crap. This one's crap anyway, because this isn't even dialed in. So this knife has only been sharpened probably once, the main sharpening I gave it, which did remove some material, just enough to get my bevel set. I don't just sit and grind away on metal to deliberately remove metal from an edge. I just don't do that. So I gave this a normal sharpening, and I used it for a few things, and I've probably touched it up twice, which would involve me doing basically very gentle strokes on a King 6000. That's what I've been doing, and I've probably done that twice. And that's what I did just before this test, just to make sure this thing was dialed in. I just gave it a couple quick edge trailing strokes on a King 6000. Stropped it on this Bark River compound, 8-micron compound strop, just a few times. Nothing special about this thing. It was a super polished edge, King 6000 with an 8-micron strop. Very gentle action, very few swipes. And this thing has not had a lot of metal removed from it, if that means anything to you guys. Anyway, that's what happened. So this thing cut an awful lot. This thing barely could perform the test, and these are the same steel, guys, I assume, at least. Same company, and there are some other problems here. This is a different knife. This is a wider knife. The edge geometry is not going to be the same on these things. I'm not super curious about this. I just wanted to show you guys how bad these edges are from Case. They are bad. This is unacceptable in my opinion. They should dial this in and give us a knife that we can actually use out of the box. Shame on Case for doing bad sharpening. So there. That's really all I wanted to prove with this video. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, let me know. Again, I'm not trying to be too scientific about this. I just cut rope and cardboard with the edge I basically carry on this thing all the time, which is not really an edge that most people would put on a knife for cutting rope and cardboard. A King 6000 edge is pretty polished. And I just cut with this factory edge, and I'm just showing you what these knives did today. This one did a lot. This one could barely perform the test, and that's where we are. Thanks for your time, and as always, thank you so much for watching.